legends, I hope you're all fantastic. On today's installment of 5-Minute Tones, I want to show you how to use the new soft reset function in the AXFX3, FM9 and FM3. All three units got an update on the same day, which is more or less unprecedented in the Fractal ecosystem. I will link to some videos that I've done with previous releases that cover a lot of the new features like the remastered amps and firmware 10 for the FM3, which adds so much candy to the FM3. I'm on firmware 9.02 for the FM9 at the moment. I've got the remastered Brit JVM dialed up at the moment. I really like the way this one sounds. Nice and thick and chunky. Let's say though I wanted to load up an old preset where I was using something like a Mark Series amp where I have dialed the amp in, I've played around with the graphic EQ, and I wanted to update that to get all the latest modeling updates and get all the right deep parameters on there. So I've got a preset here called Mark IV RD because this is something I would use with Ragdoll. You can see the settings that I've got there at the moment, typical Mark Series preamp stuff, and I've got a Mark Series EQ thing happening on here. So previously, if you wanted to bring this into line with the latest modeling firmware, you would have to perform what's called a soft reset, where you basically select a different amp model and come back here. But what that would do, it would zero out your graphic EQ. So on something like a Mark Series amp, that was pretty frustrating and annoying. You'd have to remember your settings and go back. Let's just hear this very, very quickly. If you did a reset in the amp block, this would be zeroed out. So basically the EQ would be off and it's nowhere near as cool. What has been added in here now is this new soft reset, which will keep things like the authentic controls for the gain, overdrive, bass, middle, treble, presence, and master volume, and the graphic EQ, along with a few other deeper parameters on there. So if you're somebody who really likes to go in and dial in specific amp models, tweaking those advanced parameters, tweaking that graphic EQ for the Mark Series amps, you can now do a soft reset and not have to go back and touch that. The way you do it in the editor is right up here where it says channel, there's this little triangle. You can click on that and you can soft reset the current amp channel. So when I do that, this will reset all the advanced parameters that the remastered amps have on here or that new firmware updates bring, but look at that, it hasn't touched the graphic EQ in there. So now I've got the USA Mark IV lead mid dialed in. It's going to have the correct values for the firmware, but it's not going to play around with these things that I have dialed in right there, which I really appreciate. Now, if you've got multiple presets with multiple amp channels that need a soft reset, doing that manually, going one by one, is pretty annoying and frustrating, as you would expect. Luckily, we can go up to Tools, we can go to Manage Presets in here, and what we can do is we can just select all of the presets that we want to perform a reset on. So let's say I just want all of these presets that I use reset over here. I'm going to select them over here. So I'm going to hold down Shift. I'll click on the first one, hold down Shift to the preset that I want to go to. Then I'm going to right click and you can come down here and go to Reset Amp Blocks. So you need the latest firmware and you need the latest version of the editor, which I've got at the moment. When you hit Reset Amp Blocks, this is going to go through every single amp block channel in all of those selected presets, and it's going to perform a soft reset on there. So it will leave things like your graphic EQ settings on there or any other deep tweaks that you've made. That's a fantastic utility in there. Now you can perform the soft reset of an amp block channel on the hardware as well. All you need to do is go into the amp block and then push the E encoder on the front panel of the unit, and that will give you the option to do a soft reset on there. Once you've done that, you can get on with the business of making some glorious guitar noises with your Fractal units on there. And I'm going to do that right now. I'll play around a little bit with my main preset on here, which is available as a factory preset. If you're an FM3 user who is updating to firmware 10, which now has its full release, be sure to install those new factory presets. The factory presets are a separate installation file on there. If you've got existing presets on there now, you can do this soft reset really easily, either as an a la carte channel by channel basis or using that batch setting tool on there. If you've got any other questions, let me know in the comments section below, and enjoy playing and making some noise with your Fractal units.